Good morning. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. I guess I misjudged the time frame it takes me to get up here. I don't know why. I've done it 100 times. Mike and Joe, welcome. Janisa, welcome. Despina, thanks for holding out, you guys, for 5 or 6 minutes till I went live. I'm going to plug in my microphone. Let me know if this works. I always have to wait until after it begins, just so I get some feedback from you all. Wendy Chadwick, Wendy and Jeremy, welcome. Steve and Andrea, good morning to you. Did I see Daryl and Suzanne in there? Linbo, welcome if I did. Jim and Kathy, good to see you. There's my mom, welcome, good morning. Debbie King, welcome to you this morning. Lori Agassi, Carmen Lego, Barbara Richardson, Debbie Collins. Morning, everybody. Jan Akins, good morning. Lisa Phillips, good to see you this morning. So if the sound goes in and out, that means the mic isn't working well. I'm getting some feedback from you that it is working, so we'll just go with that for now. If it changes, let me know. Sally Crocker, good to see you this morning. So this morning I don't have a particular passage of scripture that I was in, though there are many passages that come to mind with regard to where the Lord had me this morning. And unfortunately, yesterday I was talking about liminal space, threshold space, where you're between rooms. You know, you've come from one thing and you're kind of on a holding pattern, waiting for the next thing, and the next thing is unknown, and what's it going to be like, and so on. You know, I want to touch on that a little bit more today, just because of experience. One of the things about liminal space, this uncomfortable waiting, this prolonged period of discomfort and wilderness. It is just, there's no other way to explain it, and that is just hard. And nobody wants to be in a painful, hard situation for any prolonged period of time. We want it to be over. We want to be through the threshold. We want to be on the other side. We want to be enjoying the benefits of whatever it is that's on the horizon that God has for us. We want to realize the benefit. But sometimes God has us in the wilderness for much longer than we want. Israel wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. Jesus wandered in the wilderness fasting without food for 40 days. These prolonged periods. Moses was up on the mountain for 40 days, and I guess that was enough time for Israel to figure out he must be dead. So they went and turned to other gods. You know, that's kind of what's at stake in the wilderness. Jesus was tempted after 40 days to alter his course, to take measures in his own hands to get food, you know, turn stones into bread. And that's the prolonged nature of the wilderness journey, is where those temptations come. It's prolonged pain, prolonged hardness, prolonged uncertainty, prolonged trusting in God, the goodness of God to deliver us, to be our strength, to learn. There's only one way to learn endurance. There's only one way to learn perseverance, and that is to make that long walk through the wilderness. And what I was journaling about this morning is a memory that I was recalling from my 200-mile hike on the John Muir Trail. I had gotten to roughly the halfway point, about 100 miles into my journey, to pick up my resupply. So I had to hike off trail about 11 miles to get to this place where I had mailed food. And at this place, there was a shower, there was a restaurant that could have a hamburger, There was people I could hang out with. There was a store I could buy something sweet if I wanted something sweet, you know. It was kind of this touch of civilization, you know. And it was at that moment that I hit an unexpected low in my journey. I had already traveled 100 miles. I was already experiencing the difficulties of being out on the trail for an extended period of time. It getting, you know, down into the low 30s every night, or below maybe the high 20s every night, and just long days going up and down mountains. My feet were not in good shape, and the majority of the difficult aspect of the trail was still ahead. And knowing that, I got pretty discouraged that one night that I was off trail, and I was very much tempted to quit because what I was facing, I knew where I'd just come from, and I knew the trail ahead was harder, and there was a very strong temptation to just get off the trail. I don't want to spend the next 8 nights on some 11,000 foot cold bench below a frozen summit. As great as the views are, you know, I would justify, it's like, is it worth the journey? And I made the decision to get back out on the trail. I made the decision to head toward my goal. That it would take me 8 days to get there through some of the most treacherous terrain that I'd ever traveled for an extended period of time, with what turned out to be less food than I would have preferred. But I made the journey. And the thing that was helpful to me was saying, you know, I can't hike the next 100 miles in a day. That was what was in my mind, that entire rest of the journey. I had to stop and just say, Mark, just hike today. Hike the next few miles. Hike the next 16 miles. This is what you can do today. That's all you got to do. Just do what you can do today. And I had to do that day after day after day until I reached my ultimate goal, the summit of Mount Whitney. And that's what it feels like when you're in liminal space. You've come out of this. Maybe I feel this is where I'm just saying. I'm not saying this hypothetically. This is where I'm at in my journey in my life today. Okay. Enjoy. You know, you had some rough days, and you've endured it. You've experienced everything there was to experience through those rough days. You've benefited from it, and you've kind of got a taste of, hey, I'm out of it. We're kind of enjoying some of the comforts. A chair with a back on it. For instance, some of those simple comforts, you're like, yes, I love this. And then you're thinking, wait, I have to go back out there for 8 more days, even harder terrain to travel ahead. That's where I feel right now in my own spiritual journey. And I'm making a voluntary physical choice to get back on the trail and enter back into that liminal space and leave behind some of the comforts that I had enjoyed for a period of time, to enter back into that space. This is clearly where I believe God's calling me today to put my mind back out on the trail. And I'm at that decision point, and, you know, making the decision to get back out on the trail. Once you're out on the trail, you kind of get used to it again. From my experience, you get used to it again. It's hardship, and you are in the hardship, and you just keep going day after day after day, dealing with the pain, dealing with the discomfort, dealing with the discouragement, dealing with the hunger. But what you're gaining is, by the end, what I gained on that journey far outweighed the hardship. The hardship became worth it. Martha and I talked just yesterday, and she was saying, you know, all of our marriage represents, you know, highs and lows, good times, difficult times, and times where we experienced accelerated growth in our lives, and so on. And I've had this privilege a couple of years ago of spending a summer on sabbatical, which was I can't tell you where on the list of experiences of my life that was, but it's way up there. Top 5 for sure, without even thinking about it. And Martha would say, she mentioned this yesterday when we were talking about this. She goes, I never saw you so different, and a lasting change, not just through the sabbatical period, yes, but she said specifically when you got back from that hike on the JMT, that 200 miles, you were a different person, and you've been a different person as a result of that. And so I'm trusting that reality, that God brings us through these prolonged periods of wilderness to bring about a work that He is doing that is good and is just not hard. It's just not easy. It's just hard and painful, and there's no other way around it. And God brings us through these wilderness experiences, and I know that's where I'm headed. And I was kind of digging my heels in, and I'm realizing, no, I've got to get out there on the trail. I've got to experience this, and this is exactly where God has me. And I hope you can relate. All of us, through this, I'm relating this because part of my journey is your journey. The fact that we are dealing with so much in our nation and our personal experiences, not just our own personal life, but everything we're dealing with COVID and heading back, into increased restrictions for our businesses and so on. All of these things are weighing in on us all. It's affecting us all. I won't go into more details about that, but we are entering, many of us, into a wilderness experience, and we can fight it kicking and screaming, and we say, no, I want my comfort. I want these things that I've enjoyed in the past, and maybe I got a taste of with some of the reduced restrictions over the summer, and now we're headed back into increased restrictions. We've got to stay the course. We've got to stay the course and let God work out whatever it is that's happening, whatever that wilderness experience. I'm walking back into the wilderness. I'm making the choice to walk back into the wilderness because I'm going to trust God with whatever He's going to do. And there's a lot of Bible verses that back this up. I think of Hebrews when it was getting hard for them, and the author of Hebrews says, you have need of endurance. This is why you're going into this hard time. You need to learn endurance. James says there's a special blessing for those who persevere. James chapter 1, verse 12. Pray for wisdom to know how God can guide you through that. There are so many benefits of it, but it's necessary. You have need of it. And God, for whatever reason, has deemed me, in need of wilderness right now. And I embrace that. I accept that. I'm not looking forward to it. But I think in the end, we will be changed people for the good. That we will know God in a deeper way, and we just simply need to trust Him in the journey. And so that's the word for today. As we approach Thanksgiving, and which I pray is this has been a good week for you, and we are. There might be a guest speaker, guest devotional speaker tomorrow. It's a word on the street anyway. So tune in tomorrow morning and we'll see. It might be me, might be someone else. So we'll see you tomorrow. Either I'm watching or you'll watch me. One of the ways. God bless you today.